Well, right now, Sean Lennon, host of the PWE Report, and we're excited to welcome Raven here on the PWE Report discussing the Nevermore The Raven Effect. Make sure to be there for a special screen this Friday in Chicago at the Logan Theatre. And of course, we've seen Raven at WWE, WCW, ECW, and having been in pro wrestling for the past few decades. So we welcome him on the show, and we hope you're doing well. How are you?
Good, good. So I want to establish this right off the beginning. You're
Yeah.
not the son of Yoko Ono.
No, I'm not.
You're not that Sean Lennon.
No, I'm not. If I would, I don't know where I'd be. So
You wouldn't be doing the wrestling business.
Probably not. Yeah, I get that often.
Are you what's your nationality, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, yeah, so I'm half Caucasian and half Asian, half
I was
Chinese.
gonna say, I thought you looked Asian.
Yeah.
But you could also pass for Spanish.
Yes, I get that a lot of times too. So.
All right, sorry. I just thought it'd be funny to bring up Yoko Ono.
Oh no, it's cool. I get it all the time, so I'm used to it for sure. But we welcome you on the show, and
yeah, your mom broke up the Beatles, you bastard.
Uh-oh.
I'm actually a Stones man, so I don't care.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna turn my fan on, but yeah, you might be right about that one, for sure. Yeah.
All right, so let's get to it.
Yeah, for sure. I wanted to talk about, getting this documentary about your life. It's, you knew it's going to be intimate. And when it was proposed, like, how did you respond? Because it's like, I know you kind of live more of you like to keep things like kind of secret a bit, right? Or more personal?
Yeah, like when I had a heart attack, I didn't even mention it. Like, I didn't tell anybody, I didn't bring it up to the business, in fact, most people don't even know I had a heart attack, and that was like 2016. And but I figured, well, here's what happened. The guy was listening to Steve Austin's podcast, and I was a guest, and he thought I'd make an interesting documentary subject, easy for me to say. And so he called me up or emailed me, I forget which. And at first I thought he's full of shit. You know what I mean? Like, just some jabroni, with a handheld camera. But he was the real deal because he'd done some other stuff, like he'd done the Bob Probert documentary that was really well received and one on Charles Manson. And so I said, yeah, but if we do it, I want to have Final Cut. In the sense that I want to have I don't want it to be a rah-rah piece. I want to make sure all my issues and baggage is included. Mm-hmm. I want that to be, so I wanted to make sure that that was included because I felt it was important because you can't understand my story unless you understand my baggage.
Right.
And I've been a problem child for a long time, and it's good to have it out in the open. And I also hope that it would help people that have mental health issues and stuff like that to be more open about it and to talk about it and to get help. Like on my podcast, at the end of every episode, we give out the number for an alcohol rehab for an alcohol issues. To get help and a website that you can contact them at. And just because I think it's important, because if I wouldn't have got clean, I'd be dead. If you don't get clean, you either die, end up in prison, or you get sober.
For sure. That's definitely I see a theme that you kind of incorporated in this film.
Yeah. So I made sure that all that was included, and Georgie had no problem with that. He loved the fact that I was willing to be very open and very honest about everything.
Definitely. And I wanted to know, like,
Georgie's the director. Georgie Day, he's the director.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, for sure.
I know you know that, but I'm saying the audience doesn't know that. So
when
I said Georgie, they're like, "Who the fuck's he talking about?"
That's true. It's true. We always have to let them know what's going on as well, right? Give them inside.
Yeah, well, especially like on a podcast. If you're doing a podcast, and you don't have, and like mine doesn't have a visual component unless you get the Patreon. But most people just listen to mine, I found. And so there's a lot of times like something will say something or we'll play a clip or something to get, and I'll make sure that I have to recite what's happening on screen, so that the people at home know what we're talking about. Because with me and Feeney and Bokini are laughing at it, and they're like, "What are they laughing at? We don't know what's going
Right.
on."
Yeah, definitely some
Although that
content.
also means they should just get Patreon and buy the Patreon and to get on the audio visual department.
For sure, for sure. And how much you love doing the podcast?
Yeah, I like it. It keeps me. They've become two of my really good friends, and it's funny. Like I've never met Rich Bocchini in person until yesterday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he came to the screening in the Boston. No, I mean I'm sorry. He came to the Big Ass Bash in Boston that I was at with Brian Myers yesterday and
Oh,
Sandman
yeah.
Jr. And he came to that and so we got to hang out, for a couple hours together, and that was really cool. He brought his wife and everything, and it's great to finally meet him in person because we've had this phone relationship that was really weird. Like at first we started out and it was contentious, and he was depressed because he got divorced, and that was bothering him, and I thought about replacing him right off the get go, and then Feeney came along, and then the three of us just seemed to click. And then Rich held a grudge for a little while for me being mean to him, and I was kind of mean to him a little bit. And then now we just become really good friends, really close friends, just from talking to each other for an hour and a half every week.
Okay, that's great. Hey,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Yeah, I find a similar experience doing my podcast as well.
Oh, you have a partner you normally do it with?
No, not really, but it's certain guests, and we also collaborate with other podcast hosts as well.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah, we have some more of the famous people on, but then we've had some local podcasters as well. So it's always cool to connect. We had one guy you probably know pretty well that's from the MLW. He's Joe Dombrowski.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah. Joe's a good guy.
definitely. And so, what was the most challenging about following you? Like, I figure you're a figure that is, going to give us perspective of what makes him so iconic. And this was kind of like a question for Georgie, but I think you could probably answer as well. Like, what is the most challenging thing about capturing you?
Well, the most challenging thing was well, okay, we started out talking on the phone quite a bit so that he got a gist of who I am and what I'm all about and stuff like that, so that he wouldn't have to learn it on the fly while he was shooting, So he learned so much about me while we just talked. But I'm also not a phone person, so I hate talking on the phone. So he'd have to contend with that and the fact that I got a sleep disorder that really sucks. I mean, it's not. Look, I'm glad I don't have cancer, so if I have to take a nap every day, I can suffer through that, and watch a lot and I get tired easy, and I get exhausted because the sleep disorder. I wake up like 20 times a night. So when I wake up for to start the day, I'm just as tired as when I went to bed, more or less. And so it's a pain in the ass, but like I said, it could be so much worse. So I don't want to complain about it. I'm just emphasizing that it's a roadblock to me doing more stuff. Like
Right.
this weekend, I was on the road. I did the documentary screened in Boston and outside Boston and Lexington, and did really well. And that's an egotistical thing to say. It did really well. Pull myself over. And and then the next night we had the big ass bash, and then I caught a flight that night, and I got home at 1 a.m. But I was so exhausted from just not getting a nap for 2 days in a row that I slept till like 1:30 today, and now I'm getting ready to take a nap when I'm done with you, and that'll be what 4:35, So
Right.
yeah, so I mean, so it sucks, but hey, it could be a lot worse. You know what I mean? So
For sure. So they kind of had to plan around your schedule.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, to go back to the question you asked, yeah, they kind of had a plan. Georgie had a plan around my schedule, And then there'd be times where he'd want to get on the phone, and I'm like, I'm just too exhausted tonight. You know what I mean? Let's just talk tomorrow. You know. But and then when he was shooting, he'd motivate me. So I'd push through. I'm good at pushing through the exhaustion, but sometimes you just can't. You know what I mean?
Definitely. And when the fans come to this screening, what do they take away? Do you think when they came to Boston, when they'll come to Chicago?
They'll take away that Raven is a complicated individual, that he's basically art imitated life because the character is based on me, but then life started to imitate art in the sense that I became more. The Raven was based on me, but then somehow I ended up becoming more depraved because of the Raven. If that makes sense.
Right.
To live up to the character. So life imitated art, but then art started to imitate life. No, I'm sorry, that's backwards. Art imitated life. It's confusing. Art imitated life, and then life imitated art.
Yeah, I got you. And
Plus,
go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say when people see the film, we're gonna see some ECW alumni and reconnecting with the fellow extreme wrestlers from back then. How much fun was that?
Yeah, that was really good. Well, I wasn't there for that. Georgie went and interviewed him without me because
Right.
A, it's it gets expensive flying two people everywhere. It cuts into the budget. And B, because the budget's not it's not $1 billion. You know what I mean? It's a reasonable. I'm not even sure what it is, but also he didn't want me there to influence the questions. And although we did interview Paige DDP with me there, but that's because he lived in Atlanta. I know we had a back and forth, but the other guys like Jericho, Sandman, Dreamer, I think it worked out better me not being there because you get their truth, without having to sugarcoat it for me sitting there. Which is why when I watched the film, like it was really painful to watch. I really think the film's really good and really special, but it's also very painful for me because it shows warts and all, and to have, like, I've dealt with all my issues and I'm cool with them, but then to have them replayed for 2 hours in a condensed 2 hours, jam packed with thrown back at me is painful. It's like Jericho says in the movie, he goes, Raven, you love him or you hate him. And that's great that I'm loved by some, but it sucks that I'm hated. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Although it's less so now as we age, people forget their grudges and stuff like that. But it's still to be reminded of that, by a good friend and someone I really look up to, it's painful.
Yeah, I can only imagine. And it just seems like this movie is kind of taking a life of its own as well, which I really enjoy seeing. Like, that you're screening in different premieres. It's not just one widespread debut.
Yeah.
Release.
Yeah, the distribution company, the cargo people, I like their strategy. They want to, and they also, just to make sure they made money. They want to they make sure it piggybacked on indie shows I'm doing the next day.
Yes.
So on a lot of these gigs, so I had the Boston Big Ass Bash Sunday yesterday, and on Sunday, so we did it Saturday, like 30 miles away. So it's still in the same market, but it's not, drawing from the other, taken away from the next day that I'm going to be at the event. But it also covers the airfare and stuff because they're already flying me in. So it's a good strategy by them, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And
Yeah,
when you have this,
I was supposed to have a show in Chicago on Saturday. That's why we were doing it on a Friday, I think.
right.
But I don't know if the show's happening. I still haven't got my plane ticket, so we ended up buying the plane ticket.
Okay.
And then the guy who's the promoter, Mac Hartman, he's a good guy, but I think he got over his head. And so he's still claiming the show's going to go on and I'll get my plane ticket or whatever. But, we're not counting on that. We already bought one for the show,
Sure.
to make sure I make the appearance, the screening, because we do a meet and greet before the screening, and then a Q, for the VIPs, and then a Q&A after the show for everybody.
Okay, cool. Well, hopefully that show does happen as well. They Live Wrestling, I think it's called. But when we talk about the fans coming, like it's so talk about being engaged with them after so long. Is
Yeah,
that fun?
yeah. I like the questions. I like having a market for my voice.
Mm-hmm.
I like to talk. I like to listen to myself talk. And I entertain myself. So, and anything that gives me an opportunity to be funny in front of a group of people and make them laugh is something I enjoy. So, which is probably something people wouldn't expect of Raven, if you just saw
Right.
the character. But the Raven was inside of me, was my inner turmoil,
Mm-hmm.
where Scott Levy is funny and gregarious, whereas Raven is prickish
Mm-hmm. I
and
got you.
sullen.
But maybe some people found him humorous in their own way.
Well, that's why I had Stevie and the Meanie to do the stuff that I thought was funny that I wanted included. I'd have Stevie and the Meanie do it. So that's
Right.
why I had my gang of idiots.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And then we saw a shift from the WWE from the Generation era to the Attitude era. It's because of what you and others did in ECW. So was that like shocking at the time? Like they're trying to copy what we did.
No, it's a compliment.
Okay.
I took it as a compliment. If they, like everybody crapped on my crucifixion angle, and in New York came up with their own. It was a symbol, but it's the same thing.
Right.
Same angle or same attempt at the angle.
For sure. And then when we saw you in WWE and the Raven character not living up to like what ECW and WCW, that was like your second run in the WWE. Like, how did you feel about that? You were being used.
Yeah, I wasn't happy with the way I was being used. Obviously, but looking back, I was used much better than I thought I was. At least, I just wasn't on TV as much, but I was still, kept strong in the hardcore division and stuff like that. And it is what it is. You can't always get what you want, but sometimes you get what you need.
Right.
And so I got TNA to fall back on. I fell back on that and got to be used really well, there. And so I didn't have to go out, the way, end of my career on the WWF note.
For sure. That was kind of like a rebirth of Raven. And you got to
Yeah,
work with guys like the AJ Styles, Jeff Hardy, and Jeff Jarrett.
yeah, it was a lot of fun.
And then there's like many wrestlers you feel that are inspired by you today. Do you get any messages from up and coming wrestlers?
Yeah, don't be in a rush. Don't be in a hurry. I was in such a hurry to become the top guy, that as much as I enjoyed the run up to it and I made sure I enjoyed it, I was still always at the end of the day going, I got to get there. I got to get there. And that just will drive you nuts. You know what I mean? Because it's not all about, you could be the greatest of all time, but somebody may not like you and then you're screwed, So
Right.
enjoy what you got while you have it. Take your time and watch as much wrestling as you can because Steve Kern taught me that advice, I believe. And he said, watch the good and the bad because you'll learn from both. You'll learn what not to do from the bad and what to do from the good. It's like, um, yeah, I guess it's a matter of being able to be discerning and being able to see what works and what doesn't. Like, like there's a wrestler, I won't mention his name, who did his spot that was really did a couple spots that were really dull. And I'm
Mhm.
like, why'd you do that? He didn't get any reaction. And he's like, because I saw so and so do it. I go, but did you think so and so, somebody in the past, not he wasn't stealing off of him currently. I go, but did you enjoy the spots when you saw it? He goes, not really. I go, then why'd you steal it? Why didn't you just pick something you did like and use that? Because if you like
Right.
it, the chances are the fans like it.
For
The fans
sure.
like the same things we like.
Oh yeah, that's definitely true. And we see a lot of inspiration in other wrestling characters that are coming out there, but they're completely different. But you can see like a little bit of references to Raven, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't watch it anymore. I don't know.
Okay,
I mean, I hear stuff, but
sure.
but I don't watch the product anymore. I've been watching it a long time.
And then when you're telling these stories, what do you feel like was Geordie's reaction to them?
I think he was happy, that the subject turned out to be as complicated and interesting and weird as he thought it was.
Hmm. I
You
can
know,
only just imagine the reactions.
yeah, yeah. He's kind of tight-lipped. He doesn't like he's not a rah-rah guy like so much. He's more like
Hmm.
you know you have to really do something big for him to go, that was amazing. You know what I mean? Like he stays on a pretty even keel.
Okay, I got you. I guess my reactions, and I'm sure a lot of fans' reactions, hearing the stories are quite like shocking, or what I mean, kind of like
Sure.
like wow, just engassed. What was something fans would be surprised to know about you in the film?
Um, maybe I don't know, maybe I have a dog. I'm a dog
Hmm.
lover. Um, my dog, he's passed away since now. The dog that was in the movie.
Hmm.
Um, he was near death at that point.
Oh,
And so it was very sad for me to have to watch him be like, we walk him, he was walking really sluggish and all that. So that was sad too to watch that. But, and then he passed away, 6 months later, I think, you know, or maybe it was even sooner than that. So he stuck
right.
around to be in the movie, I guess. So
Oh, okay.
the dog hung out long enough so he could be in the movie.
I saw. Yeah. Well, rest in peace to him.
Thank you. We have a new one though that she's amazing.
Hmm.
He was a red-nosed pit bull named Gabriel, but she's a blue nose named Loki. Loki
Okay.
McLickerson Levy.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when you see the pro wrestling, it's an art form. Like when you look at your matches, and how do you feel your interpretation of of that art form is perceived? Not just by fans in the business, but outside the business. We had Billy Corgan, who was part of the documentary, at the time, and obviously he's not part of the business, but is now.
Well, he's part of the business. I mean,
Oh
he
yeah.
he runs the NWA.
Mhm.
Billy's a great guy. The I'm so glad he did the movie. That he let himself be interviewed for it. Because he's a major major star. He didn't have to do that.
Right.
But he sees the business like me as an art form. I don't think most people see it as an art form. I think they see it more as a sport. But to me, it's an art form. You're painting on a canvas in the ring, but it's still a canvas. And you're telling your stories, and you're using your emotion, and you're using your body language and chemistry and body chemistry with the other person to tell a story. And at the end of the day, I think that's what I am, as a storyteller.
Right. I think any young wrestling school and young trainees would be lucky to have just a 20-minute seminar, 30-minute seminar of just you speaking.
Yeah, I've done a lot of seminars in my career. Um, I make them an hour and a half because any longer and people can't retain all the information they're getting,
Hmm.
and they get uncomfortable sitting, because you got to sit for. That's why movies are only 2 hours, because you get
Right.
uncomfortable sitting for a little longer than that, and you have to go to the bathroom. But uh, but I always had a money back guarantee on my seminars, always. I said,
Okay.
if you're not happy with it, I'll give you your money back. I've never had anybody want their money back. But
Good.
that also could be because they're scared to ask for it. But
Right.
no, I'm kidding. But no, but it's a point of pride for me that I do that, because if I'm going to teach somebody, I'm going to teach them, proper knowledge, and I want them to be able to have gotten their money's worth out of it.
For sure. And we talked about you do appearances at wrestling shows, like you had one this past weekend. So when you get a part of being the event without having to have a full on match, how fulfilling is that? Is that fulfilling at all for you?
Yeah, I like doing it. I don't want to be on the road more than once or twice a month though,
Right.
because I'm semi-retired. I'm 60 years old. I got
Hmm.
early onset Parkinson's, so that's why I have this nervous twitch.
Okay.
Uh, well, it's not a twitch. It's a tremor. I don't know if you can see my hand has a tremor to it,
Yeah.
and I don't know if it's shaking my shoulder, but yeah. So because of that, but mainly because of the exhaustion thing, you
Sure.
know, I don't like to go on the road too much because because it's just too exhausting, and then I take till I get home Sunday. It takes till Wednesday to recover, you know, because of my sleep. So, but I'm happy though. I'm content with my life. I'm happy with my partner. She's amazing. I got my dog. She's amazing.
Hmm.
And things are going well. I can't complain. I really can't.
For sure. And I want to know about Raven Nevermore when it gets a widespread release. And I know there's fans, outside the U.S. that want to watch this film and see you. What do you think that reception will be when it gets that widespread release and international fans are able to watch?
I hope it's big. I hope it does really well. I mean, here's the thing: is I hope it does well for two reasons. One is because I like to do things that are successful. So I want it to do well with just strictly on ego. But secondly, I want it to do well because I think it has a good message to it, and it pursues the path of explaining, not explaining, but discussing in public your mental health stuff, your mental health baggage, and I like that. I think that's a good message for any movie. You know what I mean?
Yes,
But
yes,
but
for
it's
sure.
but it's not like it's thrown in your face. Like here, we're going to preach to you. You have to discuss it. I just discuss it, and we just let it speak for itself. But
Mhm.
which is the best way in a movie, I think. Nobody wants somebody preaching at them. You know,
Right. Definitely. I hope it gets a great widespread release. And like I said, I know there's going to be fans all over the world that want to check you out. Do you have opportunities to ever meet fans from other countries?
I used to go to foreign countries, a little bit. I've
Mhm.
been to Australia probably half a dozen times. I've been to about 30 something countries. So yeah, they're fans are all over the same. They love the product and they want to be a part of it, and that's what's great about wrestling. It's an inner emotional sport. It without the fans making noise, okay, it's like we do stuff with our bodies. We make actions to make the fans react to it, and then they react to it, and then we react to them, and they react to us, and then we react to them, and it's like a snowball, and it builds when you do it right. And here's a lesson for younger wrestlers: is it's always about what you do. Never let it be about what the fans want. You have to
Right.
make the fans want what you're giving them. That's the art form. If you can make the fans want what you're giving them without them knowing it, that's the best. And it's
For
like,
sure.
you go like, why would you make a comeback? Like, okay, so if the fans aren't in charge, here's a subtle point. People say you don't want the wrestlers will tell you don't want the fans to be in charge of the match because then you can't control it. So, but then why, when the fans start chanting somebody's name, the babyface's name to make a comeback, he makes the comeback. So so in the seminars, people ask me, well, isn't that the fans leading the match? And you're like, no, it's not, because if you've prepared the fans by what you've done
Mhm.
before, you're in a sense making them chant for your name to react to make the comeback. So you're setting it up, and that's why a lot of people don't get reactions, don't get people chanting their name to make a
Mhm.
comeback, because they're not, you've seen matches where guys go to make the comeback, but there's no reaction from the audience
Right.
to lead up to it. It's because they didn't set it up. And that's the whole thing, is we're setting it up to make them cheer for us so that we can make our comeback. Or, you're a babyface, you're a heel, so that, you can shut them down.
Definitely.
So it's a subtle difference. but it's important.
And what was to you, what is your favorite, or what was the loudest reaction to a move or entrance or a spot that you received?
Well, and I'm not sure I can pick one, but in ECW though, the best reaction in company history though was when Terry Gordy came out. I was in the ring, sitting in the corner waiting for him, and the reaction when Terry Gordy came out was just for 1,400 people, you know, which is not a great old amount of people, but it's a reasonable amount. That's what the arena held, I think. They just went ballistic. And then the second biggest reaction was, although Sandman says it's the third after his return reaction, but I claimed that my reaction when I returned and said saved Dreamer and against the Dudleys was a bigger reaction. So we'll call it a tie, and we'll say we're tied for second best in ECW reaction. But you know, I've had weird reactions too. I've had like actually when I was Johnny Polo, I actually got the crowd to chant Virgil. I got a Virgil chant out of the crowd when I was wrestling him, which to me was pretty impressive. You know,
Right.
you know, getting the crowd to whole chant Virgil. You know, not the usual person you think of as exciting the crowd.
No.
But probably the biggest reaction was probably, I don't know, WrestleMania, whatever I was at, the one with Kane and Big Show.
Yes.
Or maybe it was when Rhino Gore, when I moved and Rhino gored the shopping cart.
Okay. I remember that too. That was in Chicago, I think, right?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, that was a big reaction. When I wrestled Goldberg, you know, I never really thought about it, you know, other than with ECW, it was easier to tell what was, you know, the biggest reaction. But I was fortunate that I've always gotten a good reaction, you know, and I think that's a testament to me making my character interesting, you know. But all ego aside, I feel very lucky to have been able to have the wherewithal to get people to respond to me.
And they still do, right?
Yeah, they do. That's true.
Well, I appreciate you once again, Raven, for being on the PWE Report. And if you have anything you'd like to plug, go ahead. Of course, we're going to talk about the movie Nevermore, The Raven Effect. Make sure to check it out on August 29th, the Logan Theatre in Chicago. And anything else you'd like to plug, go ahead.
My podcast, the Raven Effect podcast, which you can find at all your usual podcast places. If you want to hear and talk about wrestling, hear talk about wrestling, you're not going to find it there. We don't talk about wrestling. It's more wrestling adjacent. It's more, we talk about everything but that, and it's just meant to be funny. It's an outlet for me to be funny and creative with Feeney and Rich Bocchini. And but if you like slice of life, you know, banter, ridiculous banter, nonsensical, you know, dialogue, that's the place for you. The Raven Effect podcast.
Well, thank you again for being on the PWE Report. It was an honor to have you on, Raven, on the PWE podcast.
Thank you, man. Thanks.
Anytime. And before I let you go, can you do like a quick shout out for the PWE Report?
Yeah. You're listening to the PWE Report.
I was going to stop this. Oh, sorry. I was going to stop this recording to start a new one. Is that okay?
All right. Yeah, that's fine.